All right, guys, we want to welcome Jeff Glover to the show today, chiropractor extraordinaire. So, Jeff, thanks for being on the show, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate being here.
No problem. We're excited to learn and hear what you have to say about kind of stress and productivity a little bit.
Mhm.
But first, can you kind of give us a background of like how long you've been a chiropractor and what got you into it?
Oh yeah. It's kind of there's two different stories. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm a chiropractor. I've been practicing for 10 years now.
Wow. Okay.
And at first I worked for a couple of other clinics, kind of learning what to do. And then had my own clinic for almost 7 years now. So, but how I became a chiropractor, it's an interesting story. Um, Whenever I was little, I was having these headaches that wouldn't go away. And they were in the back of my head. It felt like somebody had a vice grip on the back of my head. It woke me up in the middle of the night and I was crying, and it freaked my mom out. And so we went to the primary care doc and a couple different specialists. We did x-rays, did a CT scan because they thought I had a tumor.
Mm.
And but anyway, all that was clear. And my grandmother was disabled. And so my mom used to always take her to all her doctors, visits. And whenever she took her to the chiropractor one day, she was just telling the chiropractor, like, well, Jeff's been having these headaches nobody can figure out. And he was like, really? Well, let me take a look at him. He adjusted me a few times and the headaches were gone. And I'd had them for like
Oh,
9 months solid.
wow.
And the chiropractor, he was a very personal guy, because I saw all these other doctors and most of them were like on the other side of the room and
Mhm.
didn't really like make eye contact and things like that. And it was a lot more colder, and he was more warm and personable. And there
Nice.
was one day I remember I've always been a wrestling fan since I was a kid. Okay.
Nice.
So with WWF,
Yeah.
and I was wearing a t-shirt that back then, the Rockers were big. It had Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels on it. Okay.
All right.
And and
Well,
the chiropractor said, well, I see you know one of my former patients. And I said, what? And he was like, and he said he used to adjust Shawn Michaels because he used to
wow.
be in Tampa, and Tampa was where a lot of
Oh, okay.
the guys were. And so in my 9-year-old mind, I'm thinking, oh wow, if I become a chiropractor, I can hang out with professional
That's
wrestlers.
awesome.
So it's the guy made a big impact on me, making my headaches go away, but then
Yeah,
also being able to hang out with wrestlers. That was very cool
absolutely.
to a 9-year-old. But the more I learned about it, it was just amazing,
Huh.
because what happens is you get to help these people with all these different kind of problems by just making their body work better or more efficiently, and you're doing it without drugs and harmful chemicals. So I mean, the more I learned, I'm like, yeah, this is the thing I'm going to do.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I was curious because I always wonder, like, how do people get in the careers they are? And I was like, what was Jess just sitting around cracking his knuckles one day? And he's like, I want to know how that works. And so that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a much cooler story. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you
So,
met any wrestlers yet?
actually, yes.
All right.
They one of my buddies, he practices in the next town from me, and there's a couple wrestlers who I don't really think I'm allowed to say their
I
names,
got you. Yeah.
but yeah, but they were pretty big in WWE in the 90s and early 2000s. So they're kind of
That's cool.
semi-retired now.
Yeah. Do you have a
But yeah,
favorite wrestler now? Do you have a favorite you watch still?
now let's see. I watch them. I'm trying to think who the best. I still record it and DVR it and watch it when I can. I mean,
Yeah.
growing up, Hulk Hogan was my idol. That's who I want. That's who I wanted to be. And
Brother.
yeah, that was it. Um, but now, yeah, there's a few good ones out there. I'm trying to think who's the. It's hard to single out just one now that I'm like
Right.
I love to see. I like Brock Lesnar,
Okay.
even though is he's kind of a jerkish kind of guy, but it's just the fact that he's like a genetic freak. I mean,
Yeah.
he can. You hear about these amazing feats that he can do as far as strength. I mean, and I can't think of anybody else that could just walk on to a professional football team or then become UFC champion.
Mm,
And so yeah,
that's
he's
crazy.
just really genetically gifted. So
Oh,
it's cool to see
absolutely.
him.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure, and that's the cool thing with this. Like, yes, they're freaks of nature, but I think still that they deal with stresses on their bodies probably more than what we do, but they have the abilities and the avenues or know how to take care of it best.
Oh yeah.
Um, so like, I guess what are some of like the main stress induced problems that you see in your
Oh.
clinic?
Yeah, well, there's probably about three different big ones that we see as
Okay.
far as being induced by stress. Well, there's a couple different ways we can define stress. I mean, we
Right.
can say, is it emotional stress? Is it physical stress? But one of the big things is headaches. And
Okay.
that's the reason I went to a chiropractor as a
Right.
kid too.
Yeah.
Um, but headaches is actually the number two reason why people come in to see a chiropractor.
Hmm.
Low back pain's number one. That's
Yeah.
typically the thing everybody thinks about. But yeah, headaches, because whenever you're trying to deal with stress, most of the time it's a problem and you're trying to find a solution to the problem. And sometimes you can't, reverse engineer and figure out how to get there. So you're literally stressing about it, and it gives you a headache.
Yeah.
And then that makes the muscles in your neck get tightened up, because what happens is you get stressed, your shoulders come up like that, you get tensed.
Yep.
So typically headaches, and then you get muscle tightness in the trapezius muscle right up in through there
Oh
to where it'll
yeah.
feel like a rock, because whenever
Yep.
you're stressed, you feel overwhelmed, and basically, metaphorically speaking, it feels like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. Okay. And
Yep.
so that's going to be the second, tightness area right in through there. And the other one is low back pain, because metaphorically, when if you're thinking about it, if you're carrying a big weight, where our low back tends to be the strongest, and that's what
Yeah.
we're, going to be using. So
No,
yeah,
for sure.
headaches,
Okay.
the upper
And then
trap pain, and low back are the
back.
big three as far as like stressors that we see. And I
Yeah.
see literally every day.
And yeah, I was gonna say, and it has to be so prevalent. Just I feel like that's what I hear as far as the athletic training world goes, industrial athletic training world goes. It's the same kind of stuff we deal with
Oh
there, same
yeah,
kind of issues all the time.
a lot
And
of overlap. Yeah.
yeah, oh for sure. So
Yeah.
many underlying issues too, and definitely chiropractors can definitely aid in the betterment of those symptoms.
Oh
Um,
sure.
now, can that have you seen it go where they have stress and it's causing that neck pain or that headache or the lower back pain, and then it's stemmed into something else because of that?
Yeah, well, sometimes, well, because I mean, as you know, the body's one big kinetic chain.
Right.
So you could say have a neck pain, and that's going to make your traps tighten up. Well, that
Yep.
attaches to your shoulders, and then it just works down the chain. So
Yeah.
yeah, it can it can cause all kinds of stuff. And then whenever you start having negative thoughts, then you just
Mm,
have a bad cascade that just rolls downhill from there.
man.
So
Yeah.
yeah, one little thing can affect everything else in the body over time.
For sure.
So
It's crazy. I've seen where someone um, got their hips out of alignment, and then that caused so many other issues. It caused plantar fasciitis. It caused a
yeah.
strained leg muscle, like all the way up to the neck and head because of it, because everything's so tight because of those being slightly out of alignment. And I think you made another great point where you said your mental thoughts
Yeah.
really play a huge part in that. And I think that's one of the biggest things people don't really focus on
Mhm.
when they have a physical ailment is the mental aspect of it.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, that's just because the brain controls everything and releases hormones. And
You
like
got it.
if we're mentally like just being negative or down and just focusing on, oh, I'm injured or I'm hurting, like it's not going to get any better, right?
Well, yeah. What you think about, you bring about.
Yep.
And I'm a big proponent in, how your mind thinks, so you can think yourself sick, and you can think yourself well too. If you
Yep.
think, oh yeah, I'm going to get over this. And that's what they tell. I mean, so many people that have these, bad things, as far as like, say, if someone gets cancer or something like that, everybody
Mhm.
says, keep a positive attitude, because
Yep.
if you don't, then the bad stuff thrives.
Just yeah, just I think yeah, put it in that negative mindset just invites more
Yeah.
negative things to happen, and
Misery
it
loves company,
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for real.
So I think that the big thing is with those stresses, like we said, mental, like
Mhm.
focusing on positive, focusing on getting better, focusing on getting back to where you were or even better,
Yeah.
um, can help us. But how can these problems that are caused from stress, or vice versa, injuries caused the stress. How does that affect our productivity, would you say, in a negative way?
Oh yeah, it'll definitely affect you in a negative way if you don't know how to deal with it.
Mm,
Okay, because what happens is, say you get out of bed in the morning and you stub your toe. Well, typically that elicits some negative thoughts, and then your
yeah.
day tends to spiral downward after that because you keep thinking negative, negative, negative. Um, so one of the things that I try to do, and I've heard it from, I do a lot of like positive, self-talk, things like
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
You get out of bed and you put your feet on the floor, just say thank you,
Yeah.
because you're here another day.
Yeah,
You get another
absolutely.
shot at this thing.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, "Oh, this hurts, that hurts," say, "Hey, man, I'm still here. I'm here for a reason. I'm gonna do some
Yep.
good." Um, so yeah, it definitely affects productivity because if someone has that negative mindset, if they're not feeling good, or their neck is tight, they're like, "Man, I don't want to be here. This sucks. I'm never getting better."
Hmm.
And all this kind of, and it just, like we said, it just goes down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole you don't want to go down.
Yeah, because then it's almost like, oh, woe is me. I
Yeah.
might as well not do XYZ because I'm already feeling bad. I probably won't do it right or well. And it just, yeah, just snowballs
Well, yeah, and you can
for
you,
issues.
you can rationalize anything. It's like, oh
Right.
well, I don't feel good, so I'll take this pill, or it's a reason I'm not going to go to the gym, or okay, well, I'm not going to the gym. Well, shoot, I might as well eat a pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so
Shane
you jump
Lake.
from lily pad to lily pad
Yeah.
of like negative thoughts, and it gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah. And I'm thankfully I don't get sick very often.
Good.
Um,
Yeah.
but sometimes when I do get sick, there's definitely a line like, okay, I know I need to rest today. I need to just lay around, just let my body circulate through this, and get over it.
Yeah.
But a day or two, I'm like, I have to get up and moving because I
Yeah.
can tell that now the stagnant, quote unquote, laziness
Mm-hmm.
that I'm wallowing in
Yeah.
isn't helping me. It's not gonna get me better any faster. And I have found every time that I've been sick that if I do that process, rest a day or two, depending on
Yeah.
the severity, and then get up and do something, move around, do something, walk to the mailbox,
Yeah.
do the dishes, um, whatever it might be, walk around the backyard with the dogs running around, just moving, get that blood flow, get
Yeah.
the lymphatic system working at a better rate. Uh, I've decreased that length of illness, I think, what it could have been. And I think it's the same thing with stress. I think turning that negative to positive mindset, like we said,
Yeah.
and moving, doing something to counter that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, you want to, especially if you're getting sick, you do need some downtime so your body can heal. Because
Hmm.
whenever you get sick, that's your body. It's almost like a check engine light coming on,
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, you're pushing yourself a little too hard. Back off for a little bit. Give me a chance to catch up, and then we'll
Right.
go back and do our thing."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, absolutely. And you got to figure out, okay, what's causing your stress
Yep.
too. That's a big thing, and a lot of people don't know what's causing their stress. And a lot of times psychological stressors manifest themselves physiologically in the body.
Hmm.
And there's several different like chiropractic techniques we can use whenever we're adjusting people, and one of the techniques we can use is called neuroemotional technique, and it's kind of based on that principle where sometimes your body will kind of hold on to past traumas, and certain things will say not heal because you're not letting go of what you, and it might be a bad breakup that you're not letting go, and you're still holding resentment towards someone,
Right.
or you could have had a traumatic experience, maybe a robbery, or
Mm. Yeah.
sometimes a rape or something like that, something terrible,
Yeah.
and that
Definitely.
that scars you, and a lot of times you hold on and you internalize all this stuff, which isn't good,
Nope.
but you don't know how to cope with it, so you don't know how to let it go. Um, but so you'll just know that, hey, I keep kind of getting these headaches, I keep getting this pain and tightness that won't go away, and you recognize the physical stuff, but you don't recognize the other stuff that's triggering all that.
Mm.
So that's one technique where we've seen some pretty cool results with people. I mean, it sounds kind of out there, but it does help out. And one thing that can help people get to the bottom of their issues is talking to someone too, because a lot of
Right.
times you'll feel weird because you're like, okay, well, I shouldn't be thinking about this, or I shouldn't be feeling this way. Talking to a counselor, or somebody, at your a psychologist, maybe somebody at your church or something like that, and just have an outlet so you can get some of that stuff out.
Mm, for
And
sure.
if that's not comfortable enough for you, some people are very, very nervous about saying anything to anybody, even
Right.
just journaling. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Or write something I learned whenever I was in college. Say if you're really upset with somebody, but you were afraid to confront them, write them a letter, and say you don't have to give it to them, but just the thought of getting it
Yep.
out of your brain and your
Oh
hand onto
yeah,
the paper.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and then you can burn it, you can throw it away or whatever, but you'll feel this relief because you literally got it off your chest.
Right. Yeah. And I just wrote an article on my blog, on my website, about fear. The same kind of thing is making them real, writing them down so you can visualize them, and then, okay, that's not that big a deal. Or, hey, that's out of there now. It's
Yeah.
on the board, it's on the paper. I'm moving on. Same kind of thing. I think that's huge. And I just want to say, if someone's out there listening to this right now that needs to get something off their chest, or they've been through something, seek counseling, seek some way to positively release all that stress you have inside, because it's super important. And there's nothing wrong, no shame in seeking counsel from
Oh,
someone to release that. So I'm sure someone out there is dealing with that. If you are, know there are places for you, and there's nothing wrong with seeking counsel. It's super important. I've seen the benefits, and you're actually stronger if you can reach out and say, "Hey, I'm having trouble, and this is what it is," to start that healing process. So I just want to say that right now. So whoever's needing to hear that, you're not
oh,
alone.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree 100% as far as being stronger, because they're strong enough to admit it.
Yep.
Hey, I need this, instead of
Yeah.
just saying, "Oh, it doesn't affect me. I'm okay."
Right.
Um, no, yeah, definitely talk to somebody. I wish everybody, would be. And I did had psychology was one of my double majors in undergrad.
Nice.
And so I took pretty much every psych class offered at my
Oh yeah.
university. And it was really cool. And the more I learned was, everybody really needs this. And for
Yep.
whatever reason, I don't know why, it's been stigmatized, and it shouldn't be.
Right.
Um, because it's all about, expression and really communication too.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Communicating our feelings, needs, and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's so huge just to be able to release all that in a positive way to somebody who actually will listen and be able to respond correctly, and just relieving that stress and be able to then almost blossom from that into a new mindset, a new path, a new beginning almost. Um, so we're able to become more productive. So we'll be able to actually help people more. Because if we're holding on to a lot of stuff, we're not going to be able to reach out and help somebody else, because we got both our hands holding all this crap going
Yeah,
on. So if we can finally let that go, we're going to have hands to help other people that way. It's going to put us healthier spot,
yeah,
and be able to just really change the trajectory of our path. And so,
yeah,
um, I think it's huge that we first, like you said, find the root cause, figure out what's causing it. Is it
yeah,
physical? Is it mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever it may be? And then getting that help, however that is, in a positive way to really change that.
yeah,
Um, now,
yeah. Talk to somebody. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Personally, I'm going to ask you more of a personal question, and feel free to answer how you want.
Okay.
Um, how do you deal with stress to keep
Well,
productive?
there's a couple different ways. Well, first thing I do that's helped me out in some bad times, because
Yep.
we've all been through we've all been through some
Oh
bad
yeah.
times,
Oh, for sure.
and especially I started my own clinic about 7 years ago
Okay.
with virtually nothing,
Wow.
with just like a hope and a prayer that I knew that I could help people. I
Yeah.
had the desire to help people, but will I be able to pay the lights to, to do
Right.
that?
Right.
So the thing that's helped me out a lot is, well, one, I'm a Christian. And
Yeah.
so prayer has helped me out a lot, and then that's, it might be a taboo word for some people, but that's what, that's what works for me.
Right. Yeah. Same
And
here. Yeah.
because whenever I try and say, okay, well, I'm a man, I can do this, I'm strong.
Right.
And there's a lot of stuff that I just can't control and I have to surrender it.
Yep.
And that's tough
100%.
for me to do. And then when a lot of times I found myself maybe being short-tempered about other little things that don't matter at all, I realized, hey, you know what? I need to just surrender this, and then
Yeah.
let God guide me. But
Yeah.
that's a big thing that I do. Also, I try to exercise, working out. That helps me a lot because that gets your endorphins going, and it's
Yep.
also good for you as
Yeah.
well. So if I can go to the gym, if I'm stressed, I'm frustrated, go in there, you can just let it all out.
Oh yeah.
You're going to feel better, and it's actually going to be, good for you as well. And then also I try to plan
Okay.
for things.
Nice.
So like my wife and I say we have a vision board for certain things,
Cool.
so we'll try to put that out there and track that to certain, and try to not focus on things that I can't control. I
There
was
you go.
watching actually, to go back to wrestling for a little bit, there was
Nice.
this wrestler, Diamond Dallas Page. I don't know if you heard about
Oh
him
yeah, I've
before.
heard of him. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So, well, he has this thing. Once he got out of wrestling, he started marketing this yoga for guys. It was called DDP Yoga,
Nice.
and he does a bunch of inspirational stuff. But he was talking about living life at 90% and saying, life is 10% what happens to you, and 90% how you deal with it. Okay.
For sure.
Because most of the time we worry about 90% of the stuff that we have no control over. Like if we worry about, the sun coming up tomorrow, like, I don't know if it's going to come, and it's going to come, we have no control over that.
It's a rational fear almost.
Yeah. Yeah. So trying to recognize that helps out a lot too. But yeah, prayer, exercise, and then also trying to plan out stuff that you can control.
Right.
Helps out too, and realizing what you can't control, because
Absolutely.
a lot of times we think we can control everything. Well, you know what, you can't.
You're right. Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. That'd probably be my top two the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So what would be your top three?
Definitely like
we're turning the tables here. So
yeah, I know that's good. Praying, getting in the Bible, reading,
kind
of helps relax me and give me peace. Exercise or running. Running used to be my go-to all the time. I would run all the time. I definitely have a runner's build, and thankful that I'm able to do that fairly well.
You can tell I'm not a runner.
Everyone's a runner. How far?
Yeah, right.
And then the third, how I kind of deal with stress. Go out doing something outside, or building something outside, like just with my hands, construction type, or just walking in nature. Kind of gets me kind of relaxed. I love being out there doing nothing, just walking around the yard and seeing and listening to birds. So yeah, that'd be my top three for sure.
Those are all good.
Yeah. So we're gonna kind of transition into. So I've been trying to ask people questions based on pencil leadership and the 5 traits that go along with that.
Okay.
We'll just go through those and just answer the best you can.
Okay.
So the first one is, as a pencil leader, pencils can't work. They can't leave a positive mark unless they're held by someone else and used. And so like that, we can't get to where we're going or we're meant to go without mentors or coaches along the way. So is there any one or two persons that stand out in your mind that mentored you or pushed you in the right direction?
Yeah, there's a couple people. And actually, I have a coach right now for my chiropractic business. His name's Dr. Pete Fernandez. He's a retired chiropractor, but he's had several clinics over the years, and pretty much any problem that I could come up with, we have like a weekly coaching call. So whenever I hit hiccups in my practice, I say, well, Dr. Pete, This is happening. I'm not sure what to do here. He was like, okay, what you do? He's like, you stop this, you take this, you do this advertising. He has an answer for every single thing, because in his, 50 years of doing it, he has pretty much literally seen it all.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we think, oh, this is something new that's happening. Well, no, I mean, this has happened for years and years and years. So he's helped me out quite a bit
That's awesome.
in my business wise, but then also just mentally helping me out. There's a guy named Jim Rohn, ROHN.
Yep.
And of course I've never met him, and he's passed away now. Yeah. But just some of his, he's inspired a lot of the people, like Tony Robbins got most of his stuff from Jim Rohn. Yeah. And it's a lot about positive mindset, about not changing certain things, knowing what you control. And one of the things he said was, say, life is made up of seasons. Okay. There's, spring, summer, fall, winter. And he said, it's been that way for, 6,000 years. It's not going to change. You can't pick 2 summers, no winters and all this kind of, but also he was talking about, you can have negative reactions from positive people. So he was I was watching one video of his, and he was talking about coffee. And he's like, well, what if your worst enemy put sugar in your coffee? Would that affect you at all? Like, no, it's not going to affect you negatively. He was like, well, what if your best friend put strychnine in your coffee? Like, well, it's going to kill you. Okay. Well, so your friends or people you think are positive influence can actually have negative influences on you. So you have to look out for that stuff, and just kind of be aware of your surroundings. And if your people are feeding you negative thoughts, then are they really your friends?
Yeah.
So that was Absolutely. 2 right there.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, that's always good. And like I said, we have to have mentors and coaches to get anywhere. We can't do it by ourselves. So that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So the second one, so pencils obviously have to be sharpened to be able to continually leave a mark. And that's probably not very comfortable for the pencil. So we go through things that are painful, rough, hard times. Can you think of a time that might have hurt, might have been really rough on you, but really now looking back brought you to a positive place that you are?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was one, and I hated the guy whenever it happened, but there was, I remember it was my first semester in college.
Okay.
And I was always, growing up, I didn't really get into working out till I got into college. And I was always the fat kid, And so me and my best friend, Joseph, we were kind of hung out because we were the 2 fat kids. Okay. So, and we were in our biology 101 class, and our instructor there had just done, and he was a thin guy, and he had just done, this was when the Atkins diet was really big in the late 90s.
Oh, yeah.
So he had said he had just done it for a week and he had lost 8 pounds. And he said, well, I know there's a couple people in this classroom that need to lose a lot of weight. And he said, well, I just did the Atkins diet and I lost 8 pounds. It wasn't that hard. And he said, if you want to lose weight, you can lose weight. If not, you're just being lazy. And everybody knew exactly who he was talking about. And I'm like, man, what a jerk. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to show this guy. And that's kind of how I started. And I used to be, morbidly obese. And then I started losing weight. And over a couple of years, I went down from, I dropped like 180 pounds.
Wow.
And it started from this guy, lighting a fire under me, making me uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
And that kind of got me going on my journey. And I did it in a way that wasn't really helpful. I lost weight, but basically I was working out a lot, but I was starving myself. And that's when my hair started getting really thin. So I wasn't getting the nutrients that I needed. So when I was 21, I basically had my hairline that I have now. But it got the ball rolling as far as getting me turned around. Then I learned more about nutrition and stuff like that. But yeah, that was a very uncomfortable thing that kind of turned into a positive, for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And That's rough. That's rough,
Well,
man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
no, it's good that you're able to turn that to a positive thing and
oh
and,
yeah,
and look back and see it as that. That's good.
yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
everything happens for a
Oh yeah.
reason, and
Yep.
everything is a learning experience, good or bad.
Hmm.
Even the bad experiences you go through, I think you're supposed to go through that because that makes you a better person. It makes you learn how to deal with those
Oh,
situations.
for sure. And that kind of plays in the next question. So, like pencils, they all have erasers for a reason.
Hmm.
We might make a mistake and they're able to erase it. Now, some marks are harder to erase than others, but it's still doable.
Hmm.
So, have you made a mistake that you remember that
I
might
made a
have
lot of
been bad? Yeah. But
them.
have you been able to kind of fix those and then get better from it?
Yeah, yeah. There's been a couple things to where you make a mistake, and a lot of times it's in personal relationships or
Right.
something like that, where things have happened, and like, man, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have said something this way because they'll interpret it this other way,
Yeah,
and so what I would do is I would go to that person, and you have to be able to admit you made a mistake, not
for
just to
sure.
you, but
Yep.
to them as well.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing for me, is just being man enough to say, you know what, I should not have done that. That was me. I'm so sorry. Hopefully you can forgive me, or we can move along forward from here. But yeah, admitting you made the mistake, and then not making like a BS excuse about it. Oh,
Yeah.
I did it because I was tired, or it's Tuesday,
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever you want to.
It was a mistake. You made it. Boom.
Yeah,
Yeah, move
yeah,
on. That's
yeah.
good. That's a good thing to learn from.
Mhm.
So, as you've grown, and we've heard a little bit about your faith and kind of have how that has a importance in your life. Pencils obviously get beat up as they get used, chipped, nicked,
Mhm.
dents left in it, but the inside is what's the most important. The lead that leaves the mark. So
Yeah.
we're kind of the same way. What is the inside of us that is most important to you? Something that you don't waver from, a value you have that you hope protrudes and
Yeah.
oozes out into your life.
Well, sure. And I think the best way to describe that is, well, in my hometown, I'm past president of our, Leesburg's my hometown, Leesburg, Florida, and I
Okay,
was past president of the Rotary Club there.
nice.
And in the Rotary Club, they have this thing called the four-way test,
Okay,
and it's a way to I try to live my life personally, also professionally. So it's the four-way test, and it's basically four questions. When you're involved in any situation, you try to live by and ask yourself these questions. One is it the truth?
mm,
That's the first question. So, and the second one, is it fair to all concerned? Okay. Three is, will it build goodwill and build better friendships? And then the fourth one is, will it be beneficial to all concerned? So that's what I try to do. You try to make sure you have integrity, and try to make sure that nobody in any scenario that you're doing, nobody's getting taken advantage of, and there's kind of like an equal footing in everything. So that's probably the best way I could sum it up, is the four-way test through
for
Rotary.
sure.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and integrity I think is a huge one. Because man, if you lose that, you lose trust, you lose a
Well,
whole bunch of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I heard somebody say that you only have one name, and
Mm,
if you ruin it, it's
yeah.
ruined.
Yeah.
So
Then your name's Mud.
yeah.
So the last trait of pencil leadership,
Mhm.
and might be the most important, um, pencils obviously have a purpose, and that's to leave a mark.
Mhm.
And there might be different surfaces that they try to write on. Some are tougher than others, but they're still going to leave a mark. And we're the same. No matter
Mhm.
where we are in life, what our path is on, we can still leave a positive mark. So, what would you hope that your positive mark would be on the world?
My positive mark on the world. Well, the first one, I want to make sure that I'm a great role model for my son.
Mm.
He's a year and a half right now,
Oh yeah,
and so I want to make sure that he sees me and he sees what I'm doing, and then hopefully he will live his life the way I live, or try to live my life.
right.
And then that's the biggest thing. But then also, as uh, clinically speaking, say in the job that I do, say chiropractic,
Mm,
I have a lot of patients that will come in, and there's certain things that we can treat that a lot of people think are untreatable.
Mm.
So say there's in our community, we're surrounded by a retirement community. So
Okay.
there's
Yep.
a thing called the Villages. I'm not sure if you heard about that or not before, but
Oh
that's a
no.
big retirement. It's like one of the biggest retirement communities. It's like 10 miles away from me.
Oh
So we're
wow.
surrounded by
That's
retirees,
awesome. Yeah.
and there are a lot of the people that have low back pain.
Yeah.
Okay, and so also they have this condition called peripheral neuropathy, and
Okay.
that's kind of a big buzzword right now that everybody is kind of jumping on the bandwagon as far as treating. And a lot of times, the only treatment before was taking like gabapentin. Okay,
Okay. Yep.
which is not necessarily a bad thing, but there's also naturally ways that we can fix things and make it better. So
Hmm.
I want to try to encourage people to find as many natural ways to heal themselves
That's awesome.
as possible, because I'm not trying to bash any medications or anything, but I do think a lot of things are overprescribed.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, 100%.
um, so and there's a lot of natural supplements that can help out, and natural therapies too, not just supplements, but things that
Yep.
I do. I mean, shoot, things that you do. I mean,
Yeah.
as we talked about, there's a lot of overlap in what we do,
Hmm.
um, and trying to break the uh, mindset that is ingrained in people that there's a pill for every ill.
Hmm.
So that's kind
Yeah.
of my passion is
That's
try
awesome.
to try to do that. Now there's a time and a place for everything. So I don't want to act like I'm poo-pooing all
Right.
medication or
Yeah.
anything,
No. Yeah. There's a
but let
place.
people know there's another chance out there, another
Yeah.
thing
You
out
don't
there,
want her to be
because
dependent on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That's awesome.
that's something I'm pretty passionate about, because
That's
I see a
cool.
lot of people will come in and they'll uh, be on certain medications. Like, okay, I'll get on a soapbox for a little bit, but I'll jump off real quick. Say statin, okay,
Yeah.
medications. Okay, we'll see a lot of patients come in that are taking statins to lower their cholesterol,
Hmm.
um, and they'll have these weird pains for no reason, like weird shoulder pain or weird hip pain. And they said, you know what? I just woke up and it was there. And they'll be on a statin and their cholesterol's, less than 150, but they're put on there as a preventative.
Hmm.
And so I'll see a lot of stuff that I just don't agree with, and I'll try
Right.
to tell them, like, look, there's some natural stuff. Like there's a supplement called berberine
Mm.
that
Yep.
will lower your cholesterol. Like every study I've seen is like between 32 and 36%. And
Hmm.
it doesn't have the side effects of statins. So, I'll try to and I can't tell people, I never tell them, oh, get off that, because,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
just tell them, like, I say, research this or research that, and I always tell them, talk to your primary care and see what they say, because I don't want to say, oh, get off this, it's junk, you don't need that, because we all have to work together. We're pieces of the
Yep.
puzzle for
Yep.
people's healthcare.
That's awesome. I think those are two big marks that you're working on leaving a legacy, obviously,
Yeah.
and then just influencing people's health for the positive is such a big thing. And that's awesome. And it's so cool to see and hear your perspective on all this, on stress, on productivity, and then on the pencil leadership thing. So Jeff, again, so grateful that you're here on the show with us today. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, man. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Very enjoyable. So,
Awesome, man. Thanks again.
hey, you too. We'll see you, man.
See ya.